lot of unread books, about 150 to be exact. So I thought it'd be fun to show you guys every single book I own that I haven't read yet, aka my physical TBR, and also why I have not read these books yet. 150 books is a lot to go through, so let's not do too much chatting. Let's get into it. The reason I wanted to make this video is I'm moving! I will still be in Austin, Texas, but in about almost exactly 1 month from today, I will be moving to a very new, fun area of Austin that I haven't lived in before. In preparation for moving, I really wanted to go through all of my books and see if there's any that I want to unhaul. So this isn't gonna be an unhaul video, but I thought it was the perfect time as I'm going through every single unread book, just seeing, do I wanna pull any of these to get rid of, to not go through the effort of moving with these books. But yeah, life has definitely been, honestly, like very chaotic and very busy. Just with all the moving prep, we've toured so many apartments before deciding on the one that we're on, and I've just been generally doing like a full cleaning of like every area of my apartment to figure out what I want to keep. But one thing in my life that has been very simple, very consistent way to unwind with all the moving chaos is my Curology skincare routine. Curology has very kindly sponsored today's video. I feel like when my skin feels good, I feel good. I just got my new Curology box in the mail. One of my favorite things about Curology is how much it has simplified my skincare routine. First up, I'm using the Gentle Cleanser. This is a lightly foaming face wash, and I love that it's designed with gentle ingredients to be suitable for all skin types. And I actually started using Curology for the first time 2.5 years ago. So I've been using Curology for so long, and I've seen such a noticeable difference in my skin. I feel like I've always struggled with having drier skin, and now my skin feels so moisturized and way less redness. With Curology, you get expert care from a licensed dermatology provider who selects prescription strength ingredients by using your skin's unique history and future goals to prescribe your custom formula. Mine is the Hydro Tret. My #1 goal was to prevent signs of aging, which the Hydro Tret does, and it can be so hard to know what products actually work and are making a difference in your skin. So I really, really love that this custom formula was prescribed specifically for my skin. And it's also just so nice to be able to have a licensed dermatology provider that you can message anytime, whether you have questions or skin concerns, or if you need to adjust your custom formula over time. And lastly, I'm gonna put on my Gentle Moisturizer. Another thing that I love about Curology is just how convenient it is. Everything is done online, and your Curology box is delivered straight to your door. Just gonna put on some chapstick. And you can start your Curology journey today by clicking the link in my description. And that link will also give you a special offer on your first order. A huge thank you again to Curology for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to talking about my books. This is my priority TBR card, so it's all the books that I'm most excited to read next. But to be honest, I kind of want to do like a super fast reorganization of it before I show you guys. I feel like I'm always kind of changing what I'm looking to read next, so I do kind of like to reorganize it every few months. And I think I'm gonna put on an audiobook while doing my little reorg, which does bring us to the first book that actually is not on my physical TBR because it is my current read. I've said so many times that I want to read this book soon and then haven't. I've been putting it off because it's so thick, but I'm finally ready to commit. I think I'm in like chapter 4. I'm on page like 50-ish. I was not liking it for the first like 2 or 3 chapters. I was like, oh no, this book is moving so slow. And there was just so much info dump that I was getting so confused, and I felt like I was almost like studying, like, wait, who are these people? What are the different houses? What's going on? And I really was like, am I about to DNF this huge book 2 chapters in? No, I wasn't actually gonna DNF it, but I was just really scared it's gonna be like that the whole book. And now it is just finally started to pick up. So I'm excited that hopefully I can now binge this book as much as you can binge an 800-page book. Luca, don't put your butt in the screen. What honestly made Crescent City finally start to pick up for me is we got a little romance plot introduced, which made me excited. I do fear a romance plot being introduced on page 50 of a huge trilogy. It may not be endgame romance, but regardless, I'm excited. And he's a werewolf. Organization complete. I also think it'd be fun to do a little physical TBR counter. I do know that I own about 150 unread books, but like I said, I'm gonna pull some books to unhaul, so I think it'll be fun to count my total books and the books I'm unhauling to see what total number we have at the end that I'll be moving with. And I also always donate the books I'm unhauling, give them to friends, and none of them go to waste. Okay, let's look at the books I'm actually most excited about to read next. I'm kind of in a mood, I feel like, where I want to read some more variety, so I thought a mystery would be fun. I don't don't read mysteries that often, but every time I do, I'm like, wow, wait, I love mysteries. They're so fun. I want to read more of them. I also just read the entire Kingdom of the Wicked series, which I really loved. But also after finishing that series, I was like, wow, I also want to read way more romantasy. I feel like it's so cool to just get fully invested in not just the plot, but like an entire world that is so different from our own. So I put like a good amount of fantasy on here. We have Curse of the Wolf King. This is the first book in the Entangled with Fae series. I've already read books 2 and 3, and they're all fairy tale retellings, but in a fantasy world. And I know that this one is based off of Beauty and the Beast, but he's Fae. Then we have Catch the Sun. This book has amazing reviews. I think it's more of like a sad romance, but yeah, it has amazing reviews and I haven't really heard people talk about it, so I'm really intrigued by this book. Maybe it's a little hidden gem of a book. The Unmaking of June Farrow has lots of genres out of my comfort zone, which is why I've been kind of putting it off, but it actually sounds fun to read now. Okay, a book super in my comfort zone is The Dixon Rule by Elle Kennedy. Love Elle Kennedy, love all of her college romances, so I'm sure I will love this one too. Then The Crimson River is book 5 in a series that I really love, the Eden series. It's a small town romance series, and some of the books have mystery in them, not all of them, but I'm pretty sure this one is gonna have a lot of mystery, which excites me. Okay, 2 more kind of comfort zone books, also part of series I'm in the middle of, is number 1, Enchantra. This is a sequel to Phantasma, which was really gothic fantasy romance that I gave 5 stars. And then Fearless, I fear, needs no introduction. I can't believe I haven't read this book yet because it's the book I'm honestly most excited to read this year. I've kind of been putting it off just because I don't want to have to say goodbye to these characters, but I need to actually sit down and read it because I know I'm gonna be obsessed with it. And then I did pull 3 books that I'm kind of on the fence about unhauling. I think I'm gonna commit to unhauling them, but I'm not sure. So tell me if you guys think I should keep these books or not. The first is Maybe Meant to Be by K.L. Walther. I've read another K.L. Walther book before that I really liked, but I heard a lot of like mixed reviews on this book by people who have very similar book tastes to me. Too Hot to Handle by Tessa Bailey. I just read a Tessa Bailey book that I DNF'd. I really did not like it. So I just don't know if her books are for me. I just feel like it was so cringy, and this cover and plot is kind of giving me a similar vibe. Then this one, I've honestly been debating unhauling for a really long time. It's called Broken Beauty, and it's a reverse harem romance. So if you don't know what that means, basically there's one female main character and then she has multiple love interests, but she doesn't just have to pick one love interest. She could be with all of them, I guess, is my understanding of how reverse harem works. So I'm like intrigued, but I don't really see myself being that interested in that kind of trope. And this book is also a perfect example of how I accumulated so many unread books. I know it's kind of weird to kind of like show some behind the scenes of being a YouTuber, but if your social media gets to a certain size, you can join PR lists where publishing companies and authors will send you books for free, sometimes with no strings attached or in exchange for you posting about them. And so whenever my YouTube channel hit a certain size, I got reached out to by lots of like publishers and authors, or I reached out to them and got on all these PR lists, which I think just at the time was so cool and so exciting, like as someone who loves books, to be able to receive like tons of books for free and also to be able to promote authors and new releases. It just like made sense to me. I have gotten sent so many books through PR, which I'm so thankful for, but also a lot of times you don't get to pick the books that you're receiving. You just start receiving books from publishing companies. So not all of the books I receive are books that necessarily fit my book taste. So I'm since going through and removing myself from a lot of PR lists just because I would rather focus on reading books I already own, or if I do buy a book that I'm like really, really excited about reading. But yeah, this was a book sent to me through PR that I'm kind of on the fence about if I'm interested in it or not. Okay, row 2. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books that are a part of series I'm in the middle of. This is another book, so this is One of Us is Back. I think it would be really fun to read. I don't really feel like, oh, I have to read this book. So if anyone has read One of Us is Back, let me know. Is it worth reading, or is it like, you could skip that one? Same with every book I show you guys. If there's any you're like, you must prioritize reading this book, or like, ooh, unhaul that one, girl, let me know. I do really want to read A Touch of Chaos. This is the last book in the Hades Persephone series. Love that series so far. Assuming I like The Midnight Feast, I would love to read more Lucy Foley, and I also own The Paris Apartment by her. Okay, this is a book that I keep meaning to read and then just not getting to it, and that is Hello Stranger by Catherine Sen. And I think the concept of this is so, so cool. Basically, the main character has face blindness, so she can't recognize people's faces, and I just think that within a romance, it's gonna be really interesting to see how that impacts her love life. First Time Caller, also need to read. Then we have Weather Girl. This is probably like one of my favorite covers I own. It's so cute. I think just I've read so many romance books at this point that there are a lot of romance and rom-com books that I own that I think are gonna be really cute, but I don't know if I'm gonna be like, wow, that was an amazing book. So I think I've been saving some of these cuter looking romances just for that time when I need a little palette cleanser, when I just want something light and easy. Bottom row of the cart that you can't see very well, we have Love lovely war, mostly historical fiction, mythology, has some romance. I think this is gonna be a really cool book to read outside of my comfort zone that I'm also gonna love. We have Cleat Cute, a queer soccer romance. I also want to read this book soon because I love sports romances and I haven't read a soccer one before. Okay, then a few romances that I think are gonna be fun to read as we get more and more into summer. Summer romance, The Paradise Problem, Promise Me Sunshine, and Project Passion. Ooh, okay. 11/22/63 by Stephen King. I'm so excited to read this book. I think I'm gonna love it, and it's gonna be so different from what I normally read, but in the best way. It is so thick though. I cannot commit to reading this book anytime soon when I'm already reading the Crescent City series, and I think I kind of want to save this book until fall because I've never read any book by Stephen King before, and I think it'd be really, really fun in fall to do a video of just trying to read as many of his books as I can in like a week, basically binge reading Stephen King for the first time. Another cute romance that is also a queer romance, so good for Pride Month, is Don't Want You Like a Best Friend. This book is giving me Bridgerton vibes, so I think it's gonna be so fun, at least like the atmosphere. I think there's gonna be balls and ball gowns and dresses and hopefully a great adorable romance too. I also think I'm gonna love these series. I just have to find time to commit to starting to new series, and that's House of Salt and Sorrows and The Rose Bargain. Okay, 3 books left on this cart. We have Arcady's Progeny and Coach, which I want to read, and the last book on this cart I think is the book that I have owned the longest that I haven't read, which you might think it's a book really out of my comfort zone, but you might be surprised that it is Throttled by Lauren Asher. This book is so in my taste. It's a sports romance. It's by Lauren Asher. I've read books by her that I loved. I don't know why I haven't gotten to this one. I think it's just never been at the top of my priority, and it is the first book in the series, but I think I need to get this fear of like starting new series out of my head. In my head, I'm like, oh, a commitment to like several books, but this one, even though it's technically a part of a romance series, all the books can be read as standalones, so I feel like I can just go into it assuming I'm only going to read the first book. Low stakes, low pressure, just read book 1. And if I like it, I can read the others, but I don't have to. And then I did also pull 7 books off this cart that I definitely want to unhaul. So gonna save these to show you guys in my unhaul video. And this book cart, I do have some books on the back. I'll go through these super rapid fire. These are also books I want to read soon, but just like not as big a priority as the ones on the front of the cart. We have The Body in the Backyard, which I think is gonna be great for fall. The Rom-Commers, another Catherine Center book. Good Spirits, also gonna be great for the fall. Story of My Life, Blindside, and Eleanor Liffin is completely fine. And then I did go on a trip a little bit ago with Larissa, or Larry Reads on YouTube, and she did convince me to get a few of her favorite dark romance books that I've also been putting off a little just because dark romance is so hit or miss for me. And so these are 2 dark romance books that were recommended by her, Sinner and Her Soul to Take. So please tell me if you think I would like these books because I'm intimidated by them. And then Sable Peak, a part of the Eden series, and Tattered by Devney Perry, same author as the Eden series. So once I finish the Edens, I'll probably start this series. Okay, I feel like I've just said 5,000 words, but the tour is not over. Let's go to my bookshelf. It's the next day and I have news. Yesterday, I bought a book. This is how I accumulate so many books, but there's just so many new releases by authors that I love. I got Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. I know it is an age gap romance. It's brother's best friend, and I believe it takes place in Italy, which I feel like is gonna be perfect for summer. And I'm really intrigued by the age gap part. Age gap romances to me can be like really hit or miss, but I trust Ali Hazelwood, so I feel like she's gonna write it well. And we're also reading this book in my book club this month. So if you're not already in my book club, it's virtual, completely free to join, and I always have it linked in the description. Going to add this book to my want to reads next shelf. I've actually read almost every single book on this shelf, which is great. It's nice to see shelves in my apartment where I have actually completed a lot of the books. I've read all of these books. I've read all of these books. I've also read all of this shelf, and then these 2 are a mix. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books on these shelves that I haven't read yet. There's 2 that are a part of series I'm in the middle of. Kill Switch, okay, this is a part of the Devil's Night series. Honestly, kind of really disliked the first 2 books in the series, but then Larissa, or Larry Reads, told me that before I abandoned the series, I should read this one, that she thinks this one is the best book in the series, so I'm very intrigued by this one. Mixed Signals, this is from the Lovelight Farm series. I got the special edition of Red Queen recently, and it's signed by Victoria Aveyard. I think this series is gonna be so good. The plot sounds so cool. In this book, people have either red blood or silver blood, and the main character has red blood, but she has the powers that the silver bloods have, which isn't supposed to be possible, and like just that concept alone I think is so cool. And then 2 romances, Gwen and Art Are Not in Love, and Ready or Not. And then I do have some books in this shelf here that I know I'm probably gonna want to unhaul some books down there, so I think I'm gonna put the Crescent City audiobook back in and look through those books. I'm not that much further in the book compared to where I was yesterday, but the craziest thing just happened that I did not expect. No, I'm kind of sad. It was very unexpected. I'm sad for these characters. No, no? Okay, well, I do kind of see like where the plot is going now, I think. Okay, I've decided to unhaul 13 books. A lot of these books are just books that honestly have been at the very bottom of my want to read list for a very long time. And if I haven't got to them yet, I'm probably never gonna get to them if I'm being honest. And then I think I'm gonna keep these 7 books, but I'd love y'all's recommendation. I think it'd be so fun to read a Brandon Sanderson series, and I got sent the Reckoner series by him. I will say though that I have never read any fantasy that didn't have some amount of romance in it. And I believe this one has some amount of romance in it, but if you've read this series or like a lot of Brandon Sanderson, what would be a recommended series that I should start with of his if I'm traditionally a romantasy girl? And then I've also decided to keep Matched, The Santa Suit, and I'm kind of on the fence about Me Before You, but I know these books are really beloved. My last TBR card is my fantasy mystery TBR card. The first 2 rows are fantasy and then the bottom row is mystery books. And do you see this? There's some empty space. I think this is the first time since probably I got this book card that I've had empty space here. And that's because I just went through all these books and decided to unhaul 7 of them, which leaves the fantasy books I'm most excited to read left on the book card. And I was looking at all these and I believe they are all the first books in a series. I feel like every fantasy book is a part of a series. There are standalone fantasy books, but it's so rare. So I do want to get through these books. It's just going to take me a while. Out of these on the top row that I'm most excited about though, I would say Red Rising and Scythe. Kind of like I was saying earlier in the video, I really want to read books that are just like a little bit out of my comfort zone, and I think that's going to be these because they're a little more sci-fi, which I just really haven't read much of. I just went on a trip with a bunch of my booktube friends, and a few of the girls on the trip have read Red Rising and they're like obsessed with it. So that was giving me some motivation to be like, okay, maybe I should move this series a little higher on my want to read list. And then Scythe, I love the cover. I think this entire series, the covers are so beautiful. And I also think this book has such a cool concept. It basically takes place in a world where there's no hunger, no disease, no war, no misery. Humanity has conquered all those things. It has even conquered death. So now the Scythes are the only ones who can end life, and they're commanded to do so in order to keep the size of the population under control. And then our 2 main characters are chosen to apprentice to a Scythe, a role that neither of them wants. And yeah, I just feel like there's gonna be so much to explore with this world. Like, what would that world even look like? Like, how would it function in day-to-day life? What is it like to be a Scythe and to carry that burden? How do they even decide like who dies? I've also heard amazing things about When the Moon Hatched, but it is so thick, so do not know when I will get to this one. And I think the one that I feel like the most guarantee I'm gonna really love, or at least like is the most me taste-wise, is Serpent and Dove. It says, a witch and a witch hunter thrust into holy matrimony. So we have a romantasy, enemies to lovers, and marriage of convenience. And like that is just the most me description of any book ever. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fantasy books here, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 fantasy books total between the 2 shelves. On that trip with a bunch of my booktube friends, one of the girls, Natalie, did read Dawn of Onyx and she was really liking it. I'm particularly really excited for the setting of this book. It says our main character gets taken prisoner, and then it says working with a fellow prisoner may be her only path to freedom, but unfortunately he's as infuriating as he is cunning, which I just love that description for a male love interest. And also just a book that takes place in a fantasy prison I think is gonna be really cool. And then on the bottom row down here there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 mystery books. Let me move the camera so you guys can see them. The ones I've owned the longest are In My Dreams I Hold a Knife and The Secret History, so I definitely need to prioritize these this fall. I think in general these are all gonna be really great fall books. The one that I am absolutely the most excited about to read on the shelf is Truly Devious. I think this book is gonna be so good and I can't believe I haven't read it yet. It is, again, because it is the first book in a series. This is a young adult mystery series and takes place at a famous private school, which I just feel like is gonna be such great dark academia vibes. It also says there was a kidnapping, there's riddles, and it has one of the greatest unsolved crimes in history. It kind of is just giving me a mix between the Inheritance games and A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I literally just made up that comparison, haven't read it, so I don't know if that's true, but that's what my head goes to when reading this summary, and I love both those books so much. Let me rapid fire all of these books. I have Little Fires Everywhere, The Cheerleaders, another book I've owned for so long that I really need to read, and the plot does sound really cool. All the cheerleaders in this town have died. You'll Be the Death of Me by Karen and McManus. Such Charming Liars, another Karen and McManus book. The Word is Murder. I also need to read this book because the author wrote himself as a character into the book, which I'm so intrigued by that. And then there's The Hunting Party. Apples Never Fall is also a TV show. Then there's The Agathas, The Black Queen, Royal Blood, and Going Dark. And then I do have a few books hidden written on the back of the book cart. I have a few Natasha Preston and Maren Stoffel's books. I've read books by these authors before and they're never like amazing, but they are really short, quick mysteries, which I know is not the best review, but sometimes I feel like it's really nice to just be able to sit down and read a really fast-paced mystery in a few hour period. Big Little Lies, I know people love this book. And then I have one nonfiction book, The Unanswered Letter. It takes place in 1939 and it centers around World War II. And it's about a guy named Alfred who mailed a desperate letter to an American stranger who happened to share his last name to try and find a safe house to escape the Nazis. So I feel like this is gonna be a really compelling book and a book full of a lot of like history. I also have Catabasis by the very popular R.F. Kuang and Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. I said it before. And lastly, I have a few more unread books scattered throughout my apartment. I have this shelf that has all of my book of the month books. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 book of the month books. And I think out of these, I'm most excited for The Favorites by Lane Fargo. If you look up like a synopsis of the book, it says that it is a love story set in the world of figure skating. But a lot of people who have read it have told me that it's not really like a romance. It's more so like a tumultuous relationship, like non-traditional, like happily ever after. So it does involve like a couple, and I think the ice skating element is going to be really cool, but I'm curious kind of like what I'll be getting into with this book, but I've just heard really good things about it. And then I have a fantasy bookshelf that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 unread books on it. The one I think I'm going to love the most on this shelf is Veiled Kingdom. This one is an enemies to lovers romantasy, and I like that it's like legit enemies, like enemies, because she is the daughter of the king and then he's the son of the rebel leader, so it would make sense that they would really literally be on opposite sides. I think I've just been waiting to read this book because there's more books in the series coming out, and I'm trying to read series back to back more because I feel like that's just more satisfying and you're more invested that way. And I also think Crave will be really fun to read because I haven't read many vampire books before. I don't think I've read any books actually where the main characters are a vampire. I could be wrong. I missed my Twilight era, so never had a big vampire moment before. And that is, or should be, every single book I own but haven't read. I may have missed a few just because I also let people in my life borrow books a lot, but that should be just about all of them. And I feel like I made a lot of progress. Unhauled quite a lot more books, honestly way more than I thought I was gonna unhaul, which makes moving feel a little less intimidating. But yeah, I would love y'all's opinion on any single book I said in this video, if I should prioritize reading it right away, if I should unhaul it, what your thoughts are. I would also love to know how many unread books you guys own, just to make me feel a little bit better about my own massive book collection. But I should have also lots of more moving content to come. I definitely want to do a book unhaul video soon to show you guys all the books that I plan to unhaul in this video, and then if there's any other moving content you want to see, let me know. Because hey Google, what's today's date?
It's Wednesday, June 4th, 2025.
There's officially 26 days until I move. All right, see you guys in my next video. Bye.